The unlikely assignment Hethra had killed 17 humans in combat. Each death was precise, calculated, and without hesitation. The Velinari military had forged her into the perfect weapon against humanity's expansion into their territory. Her crimson scales bore the ritual scars of a hunter prime, and her twin plasma blades had never failed to find their mark dot, so when Commander Velthak informed her of the ceasefire, her first instinct was to check if this was some elaborate combat. Simulation. You will be stationed at Outpost Meridian 7, the grizzled commander explained, his 4 eyes never leaving her face. Joint operations with ... The word them carried enough venom to kill a small mammal. Sir, I request clarification. Are we gathering intelligence on human combat capabilities? Negative. You are to cooperate. Learn their methods. Report on technological exchanges. His mandibles clicked with obvious distaste. The High Council believes understanding our enemy will serve us better than simply killing them. 3 days later, Kethara stood in the sterile docking bay of Meridian 7, her armor's environmental systems humming softly. The station was a marvel of compromised Velinari biotech merged with human engineering in ways that should have been impossible. She'd studied human warfare extensively, but had never seen their civilian technology up close. The airlock cycled, and her partner emerged. Kethara had expected another warrior scarred, battle-hardened, radiating the same lethal competence she'd encountered in human soldiers. Instead, she found herself staring at a lanky male in coveralls, tool belt hanging askew, carrying what appeared to be a beverage and some sort of rectangular food item. "You must be my new partner," he said, taking a bite of his food. "Marcus, Web Systems Engineer. Sorry, I'm late, had to finish calibrating the atmospheric processors. Can't have you dying of oxygen poisoning on my watch." His casual tone caught her off guard. Human military protocols demand a rigid formality, especially between former enemies. Yet this Marcus Webb spoke as if they were ... colleagues. "I am Kethara, Hunter Prime of the Velinari 3rd Talon," she replied stiffly. "Hunter Prime, huh? That sounds impressive." "I'm just a guy who fixes things when they break." He gestured toward the corridor. "Want me to show you around?" Fair warning, the coffee maker is temperamental, and the artificial gravity hiccups every few hours in Section C. As they walked, Marcus kept up a steady stream of commentary about the station's quirks, completely ignoring her weapons and battle-scarred armor. He showed her the hydroponics bay with genuine enthusiasm, explained the fusion reactor's modifications with infectious curiosity, and somehow made her forget, just for moments, that she was supposed to be studying ways to kill him. He laughed at his own terrible joke about quantum mechanics. Kethara felt something strange, the urge to laugh with him. Unexpected vulnerabilities. 3 weeks into their assignment, Kethara had identified 17 ways Marcus could kill her. The problem was, she was fairly certain he hadn't identified a single one. She watched him now, humming some tuneless human melody while rewiring a communications array. His movements were economical, precise, not the brutal efficiency of a warrior, but the careful grace of someone who understood delicate systems. When a component sparked unexpectedly, he didn't flinch. Instead, he chuckled and muttered, "Well, that's new." "You should maintain greater awareness of your surroundings," Kethara said from her position by the door. "An enemy could approach undetected while you work." Marcus glanced up, a small smile playing across his features. "Good thing I've got you watching my back then." The casual trust in his voice made something twist uncomfortably in her chest cavity. Velinari warriors earned trust through blood and battle. Marcus simply ... offered it. "You don't know me," she said, more sharply than intended. "I could be gathering intelligence, planning your destruction. Are you?" The question was direct, unadorned by suspicion or fear. Just curiosity. No, she admitted before she could stop herself. Then we're good. He returned to his work. Hand me that molecular welder. The blue thing with the crystal housing. Cathara had held human weapons before, always taken from the dead. The tool felt different in her talons. Lighter somehow, despite its obvious quality. When she passed it to Marcus, their fingers brushed briefly. Humans were surprisingly warm. Tell me about your homeworld, Marcus said suddenly. Why? Because we're going to be stuck together for 6 months, and I figure we should know something about each other beyond, that's the scary alien, and that's the weird human. Velinari didn't discuss personal matters with outsiders. But something about the way he asked, genuinely interested rather than strategically probing, made her consider it. Velinara has 3 sons, she began hesitantly. The desert regions where I was hatched can reach temperatures that would vaporize most organic compounds. Sounds rough, but beautiful, I bet. Beautiful? The concept seemed foreign applied to her harsh homeworld. Extreme environments often are. I grew up near Earth's Antarctic research stations. Brutal cold, but the aurora displays. He paused his work, eyes distant. Made you feel like the universe was putting on a show just for you. Cathara found herself picturing Marcus as a small human, watching lights dance across an alien sky. The image was unexpectedly ... pleasant. I have never considered Velinara beautiful, she admitted. Maybe you were too busy surviving to notice. Marcus's hands stilled on his tools. We do that sometimes, focus so hard on the fight that we miss everything worth fighting for. The observation hit closer to home than Cathara was comfortable acknowledging. She'd spent her entire existence preparing for war. When had she last? Simply looked at something without calculating its tactical value? System failures. The proximity alarm shrieked at 0347 hours, dragging them both from sleep. Cathara was instantly alert, plasma blades humming to life as her combat conditioning kicked in. Beside her, Marcus moved with surprising speed for someone who claimed to be just an engineer. What's the threat assessment? She demanded, scanning the empty corridor through their shared quarters viewport. Debris field, looks like. Probably from the old battle near Kepler 442. Marcus's fingers danced across the emergency console. But it's playing hell with our shields. We're venting atmosphere in Section D. They worked in synchronization Cathara, sealing glass doors, while Marcus rerouted power to the compromised hull plating. It wasn't until the immediate crisis passed that she realized how naturally they'd functioned as a team. Good work, Marcus said, wiping sweat from his forehead. I don't think I could have handled that alone. The admission of vulnerability surprised her. Velinari warriors never acknowledged weakness, even to themselves. Your response time was adequate, she replied, which was probably the closest thing to a compliment she'd ever given a human. Marcus grinned. I'll take adequate from someone who could probably disassemble me with her morning exercises. The casual reference to her lethal capabilities should have pleased her. Instead, it made her oddly uncomfortable. When had she started wanting Marcus? To see her as something other than a weapon? The next 3 hours passed in companionable silence as they completed repairs. It wasn't until Marcus started stripping out of his damaged coveralls that Cathara realized her own armor had taken. Beating the environmental breach had corroded several connection points. If she didn't change suits soon, she'd be breathing recycled toxins within hours. I need to perform maintenance on my armor, she said carefully. Go ahead, I'll finish up here. Cathara hesitated. Velinari armor was more than protection. It was a second skin, integrated with their biology in ways that made removal deeply personal. She'd never changed suits in front of anyone except medical technicians. But Marcus wasn't watching her with clinical detachment or strategic interest. When he glanced her way, his expression held only mild concern. You okay? You look uncomfortable. The words stuck in her throat. Velinari do not typically. Disrobe in mixed company. Understanding dawned in his eyes. Oh, right, I can. Step out if... No. The word came out sharper than intended. I mean, it's impractical. We share these quarters. Marcus turned back to his console. I'll keep busy over here. Promise, I won't look. The casual courtesy should have felt patronizing. Instead, it made something warm unfurl in her chest cavity. She began the complex process of armor disengagement, hyper-aware of every sound. Marcus made the soft tap of his fingers on keys, the quiet hum of diagnostics running, when the chest plates finally separated, exposing the biosynthetic mesh beneath. She found herself glancing toward Marcus despite herself. He was studiously focused on his work, but she caught him stealing a quick look in her direction. Their eyes met for exactly 1.3 seconds. Marcus turned red, an interesting physiological response she'd never witnessed in combat situations. And for the first time in her life, Cathara felt heat bloom across her scales that had nothing to do with environmental controls. Recognition protocols. Marcus Webb had survived 3 wars, 2 space pirate raids, and a catastrophic reactor breach on Titan. Station. He'd never been rattled by much. So why was he having trouble forming complete sentences around a 7-foot alien warrior who could probably bench press a small spacecraft? Could you pass me the thing, the calibration object, he managed. Gesturing vaguely toward his toolkit, Cathara raised what he'd learned were her equivalent of eyebrows. The quantum resonance modulator? That's the one. She handed it over, careful not to touch his fingers this time. Ever since the armor incident. 3 days ago, they'd been dancing around each other like nervous teenagers. Which was ridiculous. He was a 32-year-old professional, and she was a genetically engineered super soldier. Your hands are shaking, Cathara observed. Marcus looked down. She was right. Low blood sugar. Haven't eaten since ... sometime. It was a terrible lie, and they both knew it. I could prepare something, she offered. Velinari field rations are nutritionally complete. Thanks, but I've tried your food. Pretty sure it's designed to dissolve human stomach lining. She made that soft clicking sound he'd learned meant amusement. Perhaps we could synthesize something more compatible with your biology. They worked together in the small galley, and Marcus found himself stealing glances when Cathara wasn't looking. Without her armor, she moved differently, less like a walking weapons platform, and more like ... well, like a person. The biomesh she wore underneath was practical, but somehow elegant, highlighting the lean strength of her form. You're staring, she said without looking up from the protein synthesizer. Heat flooded his cheeks. Sorry, I was just ... thinking. About what? The question was casual, but something in her tone suggested the answer mattered more than she was letting on. About how different you are from what I expected, he admitted. When they told me I'd be partnered with a Velinari Hunter Prime, I figured I'd spend 6 months trying not to get murdered in my sleep. Cathara's hand stilled. And now I'm wondering why someone as intelligent and capable as you was wasted on a career of violence. The words hung between them, more honest than he'd intended. Cathara turned to face him fully, her large amber eyes searching his face. My people believe that purpose must be earned through strength. I was bred for war, Marcus. It's what I am. No, he said quietly. It's what you were taught to be. There's a difference. Something shifted in her expression, vulnerability flickering beneath the warrior's mask. I've never known anything else, she whispered. Without thinking, Marcus stepped closer. Maybe it's time to learn. The distance between them shrank to inches. He could see the intricate patterns in her scales, smell the ozone and copper scent that clung to her skin. Her breathing had quickened, and when she spoke, Her voice carried an unfamiliar tremor. "This is ... inadvisable." "Probably," he agreed, but didn't step back. "We're from different species. Former enemies." "Yeah. The regulations clearly state." Marcus reached up, gently touching the side of her face. Her scales were warm beneath his palm, surprisingly soft. "Do you want me to stop?" he asked. Kethera closed her eyes, leaning almost imperceptibly into his touch. "I don't know what I want anymore." New Horizon 6 weeks later, Kethera stood in the observation lounge, watching the binary sunset paint the nebula beyond in shades of gold and crimson. For the first time in her life, she was looking at something purely for its beauty. "Gorgeous." "View," Marcus said, settling beside her with 2 cups of that terrible human beverage he called coffee. "I'm beginning to understand your perspective on extreme environments," she replied, accepting the cup despite knowing it would taste like industrial solvent. They'd found their rhythm over the past month, professional during duty hours. Something else entirely when the shift ended. Not lovers, exactly. The biological incompatibilities made that complicated. But something deeper than friendship had taken root between them. "Got our reassignment orders today," Marcus said quietly. Kethara's stomach clenched. She'd been dreading this moment since their first shared laugh. "Where are they sending you?" "U.S. New Terra Colony. Apparently, our success here has convinced High Command the human Velinary teams are the future of frontier engineering." "Us?" The word came out smaller than she'd intended. Marcus smiled that crooked, warm expression that had somehow become her favorite sight in the universe. "If you want. I requested you specifically. Figured we make a pretty good team." Relief flooded through her. Yes, I would like that." "There's something else." Marcus reached into his toolkit and pulled out a small device crystalline, glowing with soft internal light. "I've been working on this in my spare time." Kethara took the object carefully. It was warm to the touch, and as she held it, familiar. Scents filled the air, the sulfur sand of Velinara's deserts, the ozone of an approaching storm, the metallic tang of her homeworld's red soil. "How did you—" "Atmospheric analysis of your quarters, some creative programming, and way too much caffeine," Marcus said, suddenly shy. "I thought you might like having a piece of home with you." The gesture hit her with unexpected force. One in her life had ever cared about her comfort, her memories, her connection to home. Warriors didn't need such things, but she wasn't just a warrior anymore, was she? "Marcus," she began, then stopped, overwhelmed by the inadequacy of words. "Hey," he said softly. "You don't have to say anything." "Yes, I do." Kethara turned to face him fully. "You asked me once what I wanted. I think I know now." "Yeah?" "I want to learn what I could be when I'm not preparing for war. I want to see beautiful things and understand why they matter. I want to ... double quotes." She hesitated, then forged ahead. "I want to discover what it means to care for someone more than I fear losing them." Marcus's eyes widened. "Kethara, I know the complications. Our species, our backgrounds, the fact that 6 months ago I would have killed you without hesitation." She clutched the crystalline device tighter. "But humans have an expression, don't they? About the heart wanting what it wants?" Marcus laughed, the sound warm and slightly breathless. "Close enough. Then I want to try, if you're willing to risk it." Instead of answering immediately, Marcus reached out and took her free hand in both of his. Human hands were small, soft, impossibly fragile, but they held steady. "Kethara, I've been waiting my whole life to meet someone who makes me forget why I was scared." As the binary sunset faded into star-filled darkness, Kethara realized she was no longer the weapon her people had forged. She was something new, something unprecedented, something worth becoming.